Alright guys, welcome to some Destiny alpha gameplay footage kind of thing. This is very much like a special event that they're doing in cooperation with Sony. This whole alpha, they send out keys. I luckily enough got one and played a little bit of Destiny earlier this morning, recorded all of that and kind of then decided to turn it into a series. In the end, Destiny is one of the most hotly anticipated games of the year, so I thought it probably is a wise decision to talk a little bit about it. Talk about what I think about Destiny, whether it's worth your while, whether you should get it once it comes out in, I believe, the beginning of September. And yeah, just inform you on everything Destiny. So, in case you don't know, what Destiny is the next game by the creators of Halo. So the guys that did Halo 1 through 3, and then I believe also ODST and Reach. Then of course, the whole development of that franchise was taken over by 343 Industries, and Bungie then went ahead and focused on Destiny, which is now, I believe, published not by Microsoft, but instead by Activision, actually. So, it's this weird thing, right? It's basically a mix between FPS and MMO. And I believe Bungie always tries to avoid that term, MMO. They never really like to mention it, at least from what I've seen so far. It's certainly inspired by MMOs at the very least. There's a lot of MMO elements in the game. You can see that by the character creation right here, which is actually really neat and I believe just looks great. And also you will see that a little bit more as we get closer to the end of the video. But now with this whole convenient screen right in front of me, why not point out that all of this is very much alpha, so everything is subject to change. Certainly keep that in mind. And now let's enter Destiny. So we are. Yeah, let's just say it twice. Why don't we? We are in a kind of tutorial introductory mission right now. This is very much a checkpoint driven thing that we're doing for now, but the entire map is certainly open. I do need to stress that it's a very open world. It's not as open as, for example, a Skyrim is, but they will totally give you multiple open areas and they are vast. So if you, for example, played Halo before, you probably still remember how those levels, at least occasionally, were also really big outdoor areas. And that is very similar here in Old Russia. This is totally Old Russia, as they call it. It's actually on Earth, where we are right now. So that is really interesting. But apparently in the full version of the game, you can then go to all kinds of planets. There's not just Earth, but in the alpha, I believe, at least from what I've played so far, Old Russia is the only map you can check out. But yeah, just really take in the amazing art design of the game. I don't think that it's graphically necessarily totally top-notch. Not necessarily. I wasn't really wowed by it when I first booted it up. Especially up close, there's some texture issues there. I mean, they're just in the end pretty blurry and stuff like that. But the art design is really what blows it out of the water, in my opinion. They have always done a great job with this stuff, even already back in Halo. And here, I don't know, they're just that much better with it, honestly. I really like looking at the skylines and the whole structures that you can see in the distance. It's really, really neat, and they have a great sense for these epic kind of scenarios, and that is something I really admire, and that is something that immediately makes up for the fact that maybe it isn't necessarily the big graphical blender that... Is that even a thing that you can say in English? Because blender does totally have a different meaning. In German you could say blender. Fuck. I don't know. I kind of kicked myself in the ass right now, didn't I? But I will still carry on with the commentary. At least maybe I made a few of you smile. So, it's not this huge bombastic graphical thing, is what I'm saying here. But it has amazing art design, and one thing that they always said they were going to focus on is building this big universe, that really science fiction-y, big, believable universe. And that is something that I totally feel is the case. So with everything that I've played so far, everything's just tied together so well. The characters, all the enemies look so good. The places, as I was saying earlier already, look so good. and just everything design-wise is fantastic in the game. And not only that, also the gameplay, which is probably the most important out of all of them, is also amazing, in my opinion at least. I've played mostly military shooters for the past month or so. Of course, with the Battlefield Hardline beta coming out and me playing Battlefield 4 on some live streams and stuff like that, I've mostly spent my time with shooters where you are on the ground and killing stuff quickly. That is not the case with Destiny. You have a lot of mobility. The weapons still feel really great though. So maybe to give you an example, it feels to me like a mixture between Call of Duty and Halo. So there's like movement stuff which really feels like Halo. There's then the controls that feel similar to a Call of Duty, which is not a bad thing because I actually always enjoyed that aspect of the Call of Duty games. Well, I did get bored with them after a while. I always enjoyed how twitchy and precise the controls were, and that is totally also the case with Destiny right here. So maybe those two as a good example for you. Like a more precise Borderlands would also probably be a good description, because Borderlands also to me always felt like a mixture of exactly those two, Halo and Call of Duty. So yeah, that is Destiny and the way it feels. And what I was getting at earlier, or at least trying to get at, is the fact that this feels so neat because you can always jump around, very much like in a Halo. There's totally that DNA in the game, and it makes sense. It's by the developers of Halo, but that is just something that I've really enjoyed. There's like a little jetpack that you can use in order to glide a little bit. There's all kinds of abilities that you can use. Somewhat remind me of all those like armor, or what they called even, armor stuff thingies in Halo Reach that you might remember, where you could do all kinds of different moves. And this feels very similar to that. So for example, the Warlock that I have right now, that is the class that I have, he can do like a pulse grenade, I believe. Like he throws a thing on the ground, it sucks stuff in, so it's kind of like a black hole kind of thing, I would say. Also, that is very much what I'm upgrading right here in the skill tree kind of screen, I guess I would say. So there's glide right there. Vortex grenade is very much the thing that I was talking about just now. And then Nova Bomb is something I just unlocked. And funnily enough, that is also a thing I totally just did not realize was a thing. I like hit the upgrade button, but never read what was said underneath that whole skill. So I am, for the entirety of this gameplay, I'm not going to use that spell. And it sucks because apparently it's this whole big kill shit in front of you thing that I completely missed on. So that sucks, but I'm still going to throw the grenades. And there's also another ability that you are gonna get a little bit later on, where you can do like a stronger melee attack. And yeah, so there's these abilities. And then of course there's also guns, as you probably have noticed already. I'm currently using a assault rifle, which feels great. And there's also a shotgun as my secondary. I believe I was using that already a little bit earlier as well. But there's all kinds of weapons in the game. There's also like a pulse rifle, so there's like more burst fire for those ones. And there's like pistols, revolvers, sniper rifles. There's also, I believe, like heavy guns. There probably are also SMGs, although I haven't run into them yet. A lot of guns. But as I was saying, maybe already a little bit earlier, did I even... Let me think about it. Did I already mention that loot is not as big of a focus in Destiny as it is in Borderlands? I initially was going to bring that up when I was talking about Borderlands earlier. In case I didn't, let me go ahead and tell you that there's certainly less of a focus on that, on retrieving all this loot. Instead, more on just much rather the combat and the world, I would say. So, something I really, really like. And what we're getting into right now, as we're making progress in this mission right here, is actually another moment that I really admire, at least from what I've played in this alpha. What they do amazingly as well is build up atmosphere in the game. So there were like flickering lights. It was really like Dead Spacey almost in that room that we were just in. And that whole feeling is going to stick around for the entirety of this upcoming section right here, because the upcoming room freaking pitch black. Like, there's nothing you can see. You only have this flashlight, illuminates the room a little bit, and then on the minimap you might be able to see all these red little marks at the border indicating that there's enemies around. And yeah, then shit happens. All these monsters come running at you, and there's literally, I don't know, there's maybe like 20 or 30 of them right now. It's really overwhelming. Luckily they aren't that strong, so I was able to fend off all of them rather easily. But just a really atmospherical, nice moment that they decided to throw in right here. And I do really like how they do that, because in the end, this is an open world kind of thing. While we may be on a like checkpoint-based mission right now, where they can guide stuff a little bit more than they would in an entirely open world, I still really like how they pull off all these moments, because they totally also can occur very naturally in other missions. Just, I don't know, there's been moments where just drop ships come flying in and stuff jumps out. It's very similar to Halo in that sense, I guess. And those just make for really awesome moments. And there's, of course, also a big like multiplayer component to the game, which I haven't really addressed yet. But also, I'm not really showing that off in this video, so maybe I'm going to go into detail on that a little bit more once the next episode comes out. But for now, let me just mention that you can just run into other people. You can be working on a mission, just fighting off some dudes. All of a sudden, this guy just comes in, helps you. You then join with him, enter like a fire team, as I believe they call it, and then just have a great time together, talk together. It's awesome. It's really nice how seamless all of that is. It just flows so well, because you are initially alone, and I believe in this mission that I'm doing right here, you can only be alone, since this is very much introductory. But later on, you will then get to, I don't know, just partake in really social kind of battles, which is really nice. But I don't know, those are all the things that I can think of right now. I hope I didn't miss out on anything important. For the rest of this, let's maybe focus a little bit more on the gameplay and what I'm trying to achieve right here. So I believe this is very much the climax of the whole mission. There's this whole weird, I don't know, what is it even, like a hive wizard thing, I believe they call it. So it's a big flying dude, and he, I believe, also recharges health. So this now makes for a really interesting battle, because shooting at him from the distance while he's repeatedly just hiding behind stuff, AI is pretty good, I should note, isn't really helping, right? Because he is just then going to take cover and regain his health. So what you want to do here is really do this whole war of attrition. There's all these creeps essentially running at you, and I'm now going to try to reduce the amount of creeps, eventually kind of see this hole, I guess, in their defense or something like that. If you are okay with me applying some sports terms right here. And then I'm going to only like really focus on the wizard and take him down. And since I was mentioning military shooters a little bit earlier, this is why this game feels so neat to me right now, because there's more of a boss fight vibe around, like very often throughout the game. There's always like this big dude that just shows up, and then you have to really work on him, really trying to tear him down slowly but surely. And that is something I really like, because especially in co-op, it's a lot of fun to combine all your powers and then have this guy throw a grenade and the other guy can maybe, I don't know, go in melee and punch a few dudes and stuff like that. So in that sense, it feels really great. It does also feel great solo, but I believe if you are gonna go pick up Destiny, probably also want to have like an online subscription for whichever console you are then playing on. But right, I think we are getting closer and closer to me now finishing this whole fight right here. I believe I'm now pushing a little bit harder, trying to take care of the rest of the creeps, and then just focusing my fire on the wizard and taking him down. And yeah, these guys might remind you a little bit of the Flood. It certainly did remind me of that. Then again, I'm not blaming Bungie at all. It makes sense to use stuff that they know works well. So I really like how it does feel familiar to Halo, but is this much more massive thing, like this much more, I don't know, ambitious kind of thing even, like, because Halo was a very story focused, level focused kind of thing, and now having all these social elements around a game and also having these really huge worlds. I mean, of course, this running on next gen consoles, although I do have to add that it also comes out on 360 and PlayStation 3. So maybe there's not too much truth to my statement that I was about to make. But I was going to go ahead and say that maybe having that additional power is helping with the bigger maps and stuff like that. But apparently not, so just don't mind me. Disregard everything that I'm saying for the most part. Anyway, we finished the mission. That was all we had to do for that introductory bit. It's a really nice way of introducing you to the game. And the next time that we're actually going to go on a mission, it's very much going to be one of those exploratory ones where you have the entire map open to you. You can meet other people. You can then, pick up these beacons and let them give you missions and stuff like that. But why not stress that we are now in a hub area? Probably a smart thing to do. We're totally now in the part of the game that feels most like an MMO. I've never really been a big MMO guy, but I've watched some, I've also tried some, but never really put too much time into them. But this is totally something that feels a lot like an MMO. A lot of merchants, a lot of just chances for you to trade, upgrade, pick up new weapons. What else is there? I don't know, upgrade your ship, I believe also. All kinds of stuff that you can get. You can also get rewards for your missions and stuff like that right here in the tower, as I believe they call it. So, yeah, this is certainly the aspect of the game that feels the most like an MMO, and especially later on. Right now, seemingly they block it. Later on, you will then, though, find other players just running around in this area as well. So, I believe the second time that I'm then here, there's like 30 guys just running around, buying stuff. It has a really nice atmosphere. And then just feels really great. Also really kind of feels like a Mass Effect, doesn't it? This whole area that I'm in right now. But yeah, me once again showing off the whole equipment screen. There's like basically, weapons, like primary weapon, secondary weapon, heavy weapon, which I haven't unlocked yet. Then there's on the right side, helmet, gloves, chest, boots, and some other stuff that I don't really know what it is, honestly. Let me see. Oh, I didn't see it. Something armor, I believe? I don't know. Didn't read that in time. But you can now take a break from missions. Really just prepare for the next one. And then as soon as you're ready, just whip out that ghost robot kind of thing that you can just summon. And then teleport yourself to orbit again. Select a mission, go into that, and have some fun. So, all of this is really cool. Now, I do need to stress, though, I was really skeptical with Destiny. Maybe I should have mentioned this a little bit earlier, but so far I've been gushing a lot. But that probably also goes to show that my skepticism that I just now mentioned has kind of been destroyed. Maybe not quite. There's still some little issues that I have with the game, or just thoughts about it, not necessarily positive thoughts about it. For example, I don't know how long they are going to be able to entertain you with Destiny. Supposedly, it's this huge freaking thing that you're going to spend all kinds of hours in. But I don't know whether all of this is still going to be fun after 50 hours of gameplay. I couldn't tell you. From what I've played so far, which, as I maybe have mentioned, has been like 2.5 hours, I just had a blast. Controls are so awesome. It immediately feels familiar when it comes to the controls, but then the way all of the stuff is set up feels really nice. The art design is fantastic. There's one thing that I want to mention. I don't know if anybody's going to be interested in that, though, but not only the environments and the characters and the enemies are designed really well, but something that always is very important to me as someone that is very much into design and wants to work in that field in the future. I really love how Bungie always designs their menus and especially logos. They're so good with logos. You will always see these very minimalistic, just mostly based on like basic geometry logos all around. They feel so good. They feel like those guys are really good at what they're doing. Like the designers really know how to make believable shit that looks good. For example, this emblem on the flag that we just passed looks really good. A lot of other games don't do that. Bungie always pulls off these awesome things, awesome icons, awesome colors. I really like the use of colors, but as I was saying, that is probably just a very niche thing that I'm now talking about, so let's maybe focus less on that. Instead, maybe mention that I was buying some weapons right there. So it's the hub. It is that. There's not necessarily anything special to it, but you can talk to people, you can buy stuff, you can upgrade yourself, and just prepare, maybe relax a little bit as well, but then get ready for the next mission, which is totally something we will do as soon as we then get to the next episode. So all of you guys, I don't know why I said all of that so weirdly, but all of you guys that enjoyed all of this right here, make sure to check that out as well. We, as I was saying, will go on one of these exploratory missions, and that was a blast. I actually then also ran into some online players, joined with them, had a great time fighting together with a few other guys. So all of that is really fun. Now, let me go ahead and ask you, what do you think already? What do you think about Destiny after watching this video? Does it look like it's up your alley? Because for me, the skepticism has kind of been defeated almost. For me, this was not going to be a blind purchase almost. Sometimes I have these blind purchase kind of scenarios, right? So games where I would immediately say, yeah, I don't even have to look at anything, I'm not buying that. Destiny wasn't that for me. But now, having played the alpha, this totally seems like something I'm going to enjoy once it then comes out. I'm just a little, like, cautiously optimistic about how big everything is going to be, right? I don't know how much there is. I can't judge from this alpha. I like everything that I'm seeing in the alpha, but I couldn't tell you how much more content there's going to be. But apparently they're building this up to be this whole massive thing, so chances are there's going to be a shit ton of content. Then of course the only question remains, the only question that remains is whether the gameplay is going to be fun even for 50 hours plus. But anyway, the last thing I guess that I'm showing right here is very much the mission selection screen. As you can see, there's the tower that I'm in right now. Then I selected Earth, and I can now select between a few missions. There's also Crucibles to the side, which is like a PvP thing. But I'm going to have to end it right here, guys. So answer all those questions, let me know what you think about Destiny, and I will see you next time. Have a good one.